Today, the video is all about the first day of our APM educational group project. And at the very beginning of the day, we just wanted to know the students and see how they're going to respond in a group environment. We did meet the parents to ask them some general questions about their children.
都是专注于自己手上玩的东西啊，比如别人说的话刺激到他了，不愿意跟他玩了这样。 或者抢了他的东西，有可能就会出现刚刚说那个行为问题啊，或者出现自己在那里跑开了。他的社交欲望是很强的，其实他是很喜欢和别人玩的，但是玩耍的过程中，那些表达的方式就不太好，不太确当。他的表达不太好。我问他你在学校跟哪个小朋友玩了，他会告诉我跟谁玩了，但是你跟他玩了什么呢？ 他不知道，他说不出来跟他玩了什么。他不像其他小朋友，就说这个很好玩啦，或者怎么样的玩法呀，会飞天还是会跑的，他这些就不说出来。我觉得他的词汇也是会很多的，但是说整件事情他就不太会。 我的感受就是很失落了，很心痛了。
社交是可能是现在最大的障碍。说到底还是那种语言的灵活自然就比较差，那个思维啊挺乱的。我们印象很深的有一次哈，当时在小区里面说了一个话，就说我不认识你啊，我不能跟你走。 她那个婆婆嘛，然后就一直跟我们说，明明一直都说不认识我。后面我们就想，她为什么会说这句话？她其实当时应该正确的应对肯定是爸爸妈妈还没来，我们在这里等她一会儿。她就是没有这个语言思维，她说不来这句话，她就学到了动画片里面，或者是就是她曾经看过的这种影视里面的一句话，就是她觉得好像我应对的时候，就是我不认识你，我就不能跟你走。 别人是这样说的，然后他就把这句话相当于就截取来用了，但是那句话其实是跟当时的那种情景来说，它是不符合的。然后从那个事情哈，我和他爸爸两个也讨论过的哈，他没有那么多的灵动，他是一个固定板块的一个模式。
他的年龄那个时候已经是4岁半了，他们班会有最小的有18个月的，最大的他们班的孩子大概就2岁半，然后一个班里因为是疫情刚结束，所以 孩子也比较少，一个班里大概有7、8个孩子，然后是2教1保，而且老师非常的 nice， 所以他的适应还可以。他在那个时候其实跟小朋友相处反而没有问题，因为那些小孩都特别的小，那他会知道哦，那个就是小妹妹、小弟弟2岁半的孩子呢，他们又会在一起玩，也不太跟他玩，所以他其实也跟别人也没太多社交。 后期，因为老师说，其实他要升班了，因为这班孩子又变得更小了。因为那些到3岁的孩子，他们要升到卡萨班，到卡萨班以后有了很大的问题，他就出现了抓人的问题，然后不要去幼儿园，啊，非常的焦虑。那些孩子，其实你想，3岁多的孩子能力非常非常好，无论是行动起来很快，思维很快，聊天之类的，而且这个时候的小朋友会有一种意识，你怎么这样子啊？ 因为有的时候他的一些不恰当的行为，比方说我不喜欢你，老师其实会希望他跟别人玩，比方说我不喜欢他，我不要跟他玩，就会有这种很巨大的，他就会焦虑的很厉害，他可能会觉得我什么都做不好，然后我什么都参与不进去，也没有人跟我玩，我跟别人差距很大。
And I'm going to share with you some videos of what that class looked like and how the children were responding. We recruited the help of a kindergarten teacher to go into our classroom and be the first person to teach those 3 students. We asked her to do what she would normally do in the context of her regular kindergarten classroom in terms of the activities and the things that she might ask the children to do. This would just give us an insight that if we maybe sent those children to a school, this is probably how they might behave or how they might act. So the first activity that we asked the teacher to do is getting ready for class. So usually when children come into a classroom, they often go to play with the toys and the things that are in the classroom. At some point, the teacher's going to ask them to come over to the teaching area and begin their lessons. That was not an easy task. Having the students finish what they were doing, stop playing the toys and come to sit down was quite a formidable task.
你的玩具收起来，把你的玩具收起来，我们要收玩具了，听到了吗？我们要收玩具了，这个玩具是在哪里拿的？ 下来另一个玩具我们不带你玩啊，把你的玩的这个玩具收起来，让我们先开始了啊。
Also, once the kids have arrived at the teaching area, we're hoping that they might sit reasonably still or at least, be in one place for a period of time so that they can actually engage with the lesson. Again, for some of the children, remaining in that place and being able to sit with us for that period of time was not a very easy task.
所以现在请你回到椅子上，你可以听到老师说话的啊。因为脚踩呀，地上都是脏的。 在椅子上，坐好，坐下，坐。
As you can imagine, these kinds of issues that occur in a class make it really difficult for the teacher. In the last video, you can see she's having to spend all her time to try to get this student to come and sit down with her. Meanwhile, the other children are left kind of their own devices and have to wait, and we can't start the lesson. Not only do the students need to transit to go to work, but there's a lot of different transitions that happen at school. Another very common transition is that students may have to go and line up. That might be to go to a different place in the school or go to the playground to wash their hands. It's a very, very difficult situation for the teacher because the students don't really listen to what she says.
我们现在过来要站台，我们要出去，小便洗手。走啦，我们要出去啦。走啦。
In this example, they're going to the bathroom. But to do that, they've got to walk past lots of interesting toys, lots of interesting places to go. And again, it presents as a challenge because the students aren't really listening or following. Once the students are sat down, we also need to work on how are they able to participate in those lessons. Story time is a very, very popular thing that we do with young children. It was quite difficult for her to elicit some good attention on the part of the students. Some of the students might be saying some words or making some noises that were quite irrelevant to the lesson. They didn't seem to be paying very close attention to what the teacher was talking about.
跟谁是一家？你跟谁是一家？我问你呢。
我跟妈妈一起，我跟妈妈、爸爸、妹妹
是一家是吗？那老师小朋友呢？是一家吗？
不是。
不是。你看看，你跟谁是一家呀？
和爸爸是一家。
你呢？
还有舅妈这些的。
你呢？你跟谁是一家？你跟谁是一家？我们看一看这是谁。
They also did some independent worksheet activities, and the teacher asked the students to colour the fish. One student didn't seem to be colouring the fish, and so she was more specific with her feedback to say, no, colour in the border, and he seemed to quite like colouring around the outside and not following the direction of the teacher.
我们这个涂颜色要先从边上开始涂，不能涂到外边去了。你看它的外边有颜色吗？这个鲨鱼的外边，身体外边有颜色吗？ 没有，是不是？那我们涂的时候也要注意啊。
哎呀，
刚刚还表扬你呢，我就猜你肯定能涂到里面去，你不能涂到外面。好了，涂完了吗？外边可以不用涂了。
The teacher was faced with a lot of problems in terms of their participation, their attention, their engagement, and made it very, very difficult for her to get the students to access what it was she wanted to teach them. She's having to spend an enormous amount of time repeating her instructions, prompting the students, directing them, physically guiding them. And often these strategies were not very effective in getting the students to do what the teacher wanted them to do. So we also took a look at how those children were with each other during some social time.
在幼儿园最大的困难也是他的行为和社交吧，就是他不懂这个社交距离，有时候那个轻重啊也不太分得太清，可能他想跟别人一起玩，他就会拍一下别人这样。 他不会先用语言说出来，我想和你一起玩这样，所以呢，别人就有时会以为他打他呀，可能就不太愿意和他一起去玩。如果别人拒绝他，或者有一些不友善的小朋友不想跟他玩，他就会发脾气啊，或者说自言自语的说一些话，就是不懂怎么调节自己的情绪， 对小朋友也会有些碰撞。
还有比如说，因为有的小朋友会生病啊，然后可能会晚一点来，他就会刚开始会说，哎呀，谁谁谁怎么还不来？他怎么不来？他为什么还不来？他什么时候来？就一直这种紧盯着这种事情放。然后呢，等可能突然别人来了，而且那个时间点可能其实就是不是平时小朋友上学的时间，他可能就会冲过去，就会推那个小孩说：“你不能来，你不能来，你要走。”然后就会有这种动作出来，他不会在乎别人的感受，
他不会主动跟别人玩，别人找他玩的时候，他还挺傲娇那种，或者就是他的能力没有达到。语言呐，他的应变能力其实没有那么快，别人说什么听者反应也比较弱，然后可能别人说了他都不明白别人说的什么，好，他也没法应对，或者是像他现在哈，他可能听懂了别人说什么，但是他的那种思维反应又要慢一些，等他再反应过去回的时候，然后其他小朋友可能就话题已经转移了。他以前上幼儿园的时候有这种一个游戏已经结束了，我们已经换到下一个游戏了，但是他还没有从上一个游戏切换过来。
This is a video of a more structured social game, but for one of the students, it was very difficult for the teacher to listen, to participate in the activity.
那我们一起来。
我找一下。
哎，找什么？站起来，站起来。站起来，我们一起来跳。你来找家，快点！拿手，我们来给小花猫找家。哎呀！你去拉开它，拉开它。一只小花猫，喵，呀呀要回家，喵。然后呢，还怎么走路的？来。
一只大飞花猫。
So even though in that video there's some opportunity to do something socially with the other students, again, participation and the ability for us to direct that student was quite a difficulty. We also looked just how they were in their free time. If there's toys, do they show things, share things? Do they engage with each other around those activities, which is what typically developing children typically do? As you can see, they pretty much play by themselves. There's not really much interaction between them in terms of watching the others, copying, sharing, or saying much about what's happening. It didn't seem that putting them together was resulting in a lot more social engagement or social initiation. They just tended to do pretty much how they would be if the children were there or not. Formidable challenges for our group of 3. That's where we begin our journey. So the next video we'll share with you is where we begin the journey. How do we start? What do we pick? What do we do to help those children to be able to work better and be able to operate in that kind of classroom? So I hope you tune in for the rest of day 1, where we get started working with them in the afternoon.